RF 24 to 240. Can this lens replace 3 or 4 lenses for travel? Let's go out into the forest and see what it's like out wandering around, taking snapshots with nothing more than one camera and one lens, and let's see if we can get some great photos with what is a relatively budget lens for RF photos, if it's good. Let's go. Okay, welcome to the bright and sunny New Forest. So I am just out now, as I just mentioned, to see if this one lens, the 24 to 240, can replace my 14 to 35, my 24 to 105 and my 70 to 200, which I took on a trip in July. Now I'm under no illusions. I know I'm going to lose the 14 to 24 range, but I'm going to gain 40 at the long end. And I've managed with a 24 on some good trips before, 24mm being the widest. But it will be a massive difference in low light, because all those other lenses were f4 minimum. The 70 to 200 actually was a 2.8. So I'm losing a lot of light, because this I think is a 6.1 lens at its longest, at its 240, 6.1 aperture. But can that outweigh the convenience side of it, of having just that one lens and not change lenses to go wide and to zoom in? I fully appreciate that I'm going to lose quality. It's not an L lens, but it's still, I think, £1,000 lens. I can't remember exactly, but I've got the price on the screen now. And the thing here is, I'm not going out. I'm going to stop in places that I like the look of. The first place I'm going to stop is Hatchet Pond, just to get a couple of photos of the water. The sun is really bright today. I've picked the worst possible day, so there's going to be no atmosphere. But this could be what it's like on holiday. I can't control the weather. It really is just an acid test of, can this lens do what I want it to do and give me something suitable for holidays and for trips where I don't have to worry about taking 2, 3, 4 lenses to cover what I might want to shoot. Let's head through. We're just about to head through Bewley, and I may stop there on the way back, but until then, let's just drive, see you at Hatchet Pond in a second. I'm here at Hatchet Pond. The sun is actually blinding, so it is going to be a challenge to get some good photos in this light, but as mentioned, it's what I do, what I would have to do if I was in holiday or on holiday somewhere. Let's see if I can adjust that slightly. Okay, so quick stop as if I was on a trip. We do a lot of road trips, as you may have seen from some photos that I've done on a previous video in America, and we are constantly stopping, getting out of cars, seeing the sights, getting back in cars again and driving on to the next place, which is what I'm going to do today for an hour. I would anticipate 4 or 5 photos maybe at the most, that's all. Certainly not set up with a tripod. I have a tripod with me in case I want to do some filming, but everything is going to be handheld with this lens for it to be a true reflection of what I do when I'm on holiday. So looking here, there's been a lot of rain recently, so we've got some, Hatchet Pond is higher than normal, so I'm about to set up for a first photo. Or when I say set up, I'm going to grab my camera, take a shot and move on. I've just taken 3 or 4 photos there, which is, like I say, what I would do. I'll just snap what catches my eye, and then when I get home from holiday, I would look around and I'd look at them and see which ones I liked and which ones I'd want to save. So, flying visit, I've been here 5 minutes, so it's not a let's set up and wait for light and spend hours looking at composition. It's just photograph what catches my eye, and that's what I really love. I don't know, I really enjoy just walking, taking photos and trying to get the best photos that I can at my pace. So I'm going to head back into Beaulieu now, and I've got a couple of things around Beaulieu that I want to have a look at that I know that I've seen before, and then maybe 1 or 2 stops on the way home, and that's it. See you at the next stop for a quick update of where I am and what I'm doing. Right, walking around like this is making me hot. I have to lose the jacket, but here we are, and by we I mean me and you, at part of Beaulieu. Busy road behind me, as you can see and hear. Hopefully you can hear me okay. But we have across the lake this real cool, gnarly looking tree. I'll get you a better shot of that in a minute, but this is going to be a good example to see this lens on wide and zoomed in. So I'm going to take a shot of a wide one of the lake. We've got some lovely reeds in the background being lit up by the sun. Very harsh sun, I accept that. And then we're going to get a bit of a tighter one in on those gnarly old wooden twisted trees. So yeah, then we're going to go for a little walk around the lake. I'm just walking around now to one last stop before I head back to the office, and it's a picture that I've seen that I want to take when there's just after sunset, when there's mist around. You'll see why in a minute, because it looks across the lake. If it was nice and calm, this old dead tree in the background, not much too dissimilar to that one, would look amazing. But in this light, it's not going to look good, but it's certainly going to be a test for the lens. So let's go and see what sort of shot we can get for this one. There we go. 2 locations, 10 or 15 photos taken. Going to look at the best ones back at the office. I think that spot was my favourite because I think I got some nice ones of some wildlife there. Some sort of, there's some ducks and swans, and they're kind of in quite a nice environment. One had a jet black water around it, and the other one had these really nice reeds behind it. I managed to isolate it quite well on the background. So I have hope that maybe there is one lens to do it all, but let's go back to the office, get them edited, get them on the screen, and yeah, show you them and give you my thoughts and the settings and what I think of this 24 to 240. One lens does it all, jobby. See you back at the office. Hi, welcome back to the office. Right, I'm not going to mess around, straight into Lightroom. We're going to have a look at some of these photos that I've taken today, and I'm going to zoom in and show you some close-ups of some things that I've noticed and my thoughts on whether or not this one lens is going to be good enough for the average person to replace the 3 lenses that I took away with me on my trip last year. So let's have a look. Okay, so I've broken these photos down into sort of three categories, if you like. Typical landscape photos, wide, capturing the environment, things like that. Some close-up and a couple of wildlife ones. And I have to stress that I'm not a wildlife photographer. Okay, so here's the first one. You see the original is on the left, that's the raw file, and the edited version on the right. I haven't spent a lot of time editing, just the basics, exposure, white balance, things like that. We can see the image on the left, that it has got kind of a magenta glow, if you like, or a magenta tint to the sky here, very, very slightly, easily corrected in post. But the main thing that I've spotted is if we zoom into 100%, and this is only 100%, I'm not going in any further, we can see that the tree, which if there is a main subject, which there isn't really in this snapshot, but if it was the tree, it's not too bad. 100%, pretty sharp. The bushes are sharp. But if we come to the outside, we can see that there is a fall off in sharpness, particularly as we get right to the edge here. We can see that at 24mm, how far wide are we going? There we go. At 24mm, this isn't great. Obviously, the subject is quite a long way away from the lens here, but when you compare the edge of the frame here to that main tree in the middle, there is quite a big difference in the sharpness. That's one of the things that I have spotted in comparison to an L lens, and you would expect that. I'm not expecting it to be the same. I'm just here to show you the difference between the two. Next one again, which is the same subject but zoomed in a bit. So this is the original photo. Again, a little bit of a magenta tint up here, less so in the edited one, but we can see that the tree's pretty good. 100% again when it snaps into focus. You know, you can see the moss and the ivy or whatever this is growing up the trunk. But again, even on a bit of a closer subject, when we come to the outskirts of the frame, not as sharp on the outskirts here, but less noticeable than the photo that was a long, excuse me, a long way away. Oops, let's untick that. Next one. Another wide one again. Colours are pretty good on the edited version. I'm just repeating myself here now. But on the outskirts, we can see here that this tree here is really quite soft compared to the bushes and the subjects in the middle. And finally, just to reiterate, this one is the same again. This is going to be softer if I zoomed in, but generally speaking, it's not too bad. You know, as a typical landscape walk around snapshot photo for your holidays, it's okay. I don't think it's too bad. Just to show you a comparison of the 24 to 105, let's use this one because I think, yeah, that one's not been edited, I don't think, so we're going to use this one here. We can see on the edited version here that this is 100%, and there is less of a drop off. It's still slightly soft on the outside, but it's nowhere near the difference between the focus in the middle or the sharpness in the middle and the sharpness on the edge is less apparent. There is still a little bit of a fall off, but it's not as apparent as the 24 to 240, and you wouldn't expect it to be because it's an L lens. This one was taken on a 24 to 105 f4, and it's the L version. So now I'm going to move quickly on to some detail photos. So these are ones where not quite as wide as normal landscapes. They are more like you know, just sort of close-up details or isolating something in particular. I have done some cloning out of all this white stuff just to make it a little bit cleaner. Nothing too serious, but if we zoom in again, it takes a while to snap in, but once it does, you can see that there. You can see the detail. You can see the texture on the ice here, texture on the ice on the water. Edited version on this one, again, it looks a little bit magenta, also a little bit bluey, but easily corrected. I've gone for a darker look on this one to make it almost black and white. It's not black and white, but I have made it sort of moody and dark around here so that the ice pops off the screen. The next one is probably my favourite photo of the whole bunch. It's done a real good job of picking out these leaves here. I've obviously brought the colours of these leaves up in post. This has been taken at f6.3 because that's the maximum aperture you can get at 240mm. It's f4 to f6.3. As a result, the background isn't as soft as I'd like it to be. Perhaps, definitely if I was using a 70 to 200, while we wouldn't have got zoomed in as far, the background, you'd have got a nice softer background, I would imagine, with something like that. But even so, for, you know, a snapshot walkabout lens, it's done a pretty good job, and I like the way that the front is well out of focus because that was quite close to where I was. So that is my favourite shot of the whole lot. And another one of a close-up. Again, I've done a bit of tidying up, cloning out some marks on the water. If we zoom in, we can see that this will take a second. There we go, snapped into place. The texture is pretty good.
You know, it's picked it up quite well. You can see all the moss or the algae or whatever this is just under the water. You've got this nice ice mark on the surface here. Another one of my favourites there. So, you know, the detail ones, while it's not a macro lens by any stretch of the imagination, for things like this, I think it does a pretty good job. Now, moving on to wildlife, which it's not a fast lens. It's not got a great zoom. It's only 240, but it's still going to be better than, you know, the 24 to 105 in terms of reach. So we've got the two photos here. Again, mild editing. I've done nothing major. Colours, maybe a couple of, I think I put a radial filter just to try and emphasise the swan a bit. And if we zoom in on the swan, there is a little bit of texture in the swan. This was shot at 240, so I couldn't get any closer. But it's not gonna, you're not going to see every single feather like you would on a 400 2.8, because it isn't a 400 2.8. But if you just want something versatile for a holiday, it's good enough. I think it's definitely good enough for that. And again, another one that I've edited slightly. You can see again there's texture once it snaps into focus. There we go. You can see there is some texture in the feathers, but it's not what you would expect for a proper wildlife lens. This one here has been heavily cropped. It was shot at 240, and believe it or not, this is probably only a quarter of the frame, because I did put the duck in the middle of the frame on the original, but we got all of these reeds in the background which were a distraction, and I really wanted to sort of isolate the duck and its sort of trail that's leaving in the water here. And I've made the water a lot darker. I've taken the saturation out all around, as you can see, and it really is focused on the duck, but it's already a crop. It was at 240 that I shot it, and you can see that it's not ideal. It's not very clear on the duck itself, but as a photo that isn't zoomed in, seeing the duck in its environment, I don't think it's that bad, all things considered. Final shot I'm going to show you today is, as I was walking back to the car, there was another duck just messing around in the water, and I think this was it. It wasn't coming into land or taking off. It just had a moment where it jumped up and sort of flapped its wings and went back down again. But again, no detail on the swan. Taken at 240, f6.3, 500th of a second. But if I brought this home from a holiday, I wouldn't be too disappointed with it, knowing that it's not a professional photo. It's just something that I wanted to snap for myself. Now, my battery's about to run out, so let me just change my battery in this camera. 1 second. So the ultimate question was, can that one lens replace the three lenses that I took to my America trip last year, which, to remind you again, was the 14 to 35 f4, the 24 to 105 f4, and the 70 to 200 f2.8? The answer is yes and no. Considering where I went, which was possibly a once-in-a-lifetime trip, it's not the place that we are likely to go back to anytime soon, the American Rockies and Yellowstone and places like that, then no, this lens would not replace those three lenses. But it would be more than adequate if you're looking for a lens that will give you a great range from relatively wide at 24 to relatively zoomed at 240. If you just want to capture some memories, you don't want to have the best of the best quality. You're unlikely, not to saying that you won't, but you're unlikely to print these pictures off and put them on the wall, which I'm planning on doing with some of my American photos once I get my printer situation sorted out, and I'm not sure what that is yet. But it will do for a walkabout lens. If I was going on a camping trip, if I was just going somewhere in the UK just for days out, just for a 2-night quick break to a city or something like that, absolutely 100% that 24 to 240 will be more than adequate. One lens, walk around, don't have to worry about changing things in the middle of a high street or when you're out in the field or anything like that. It will be adequate. But if you are going to see somewhere that is once in a lifetime, amazing sights, the mountains and lakes and things that we saw, wildlife, things like that, then you would probably be disappointed, or I would be disappointed with the things that I've spotted there in terms of the detail on the birds and in terms of the softness on the edges of the frame. But for £850, yeah, maybe I'd use it for a normal walk around lens for trips and things that are not going to be a once in a lifetime visit where you see the sights that we saw. So that's it. Don't really do lens reviews that much, but I wanted to do this one because it's a lens that I borrowed from Try the Kit, not sponsored. I paid for it, paid a lens hire for a couple of days, but they give it to you for 2 weeks over Christmas from Hire a Camera. I can't remember if it's Try the Kit or Hire the Camera. They're kind of the same people anyway. So yeah, there's my thoughts. Thanks for watching. I hope that made a bit of sense, was a little bit useful. I know that a lot of people haven't got the option of having those 3 lenses. I'm lucky because it's my job and I have those lenses anyway. But for those that don't, and for those that aren't professionals, this lens would probably be a really good option if you want to get that massive range. The only thing I didn't try it in was a low light situation when you would probably then suffer if you wanted to zoom in at low light, because you would have to go up to f6.3, which is the maximum it goes at 240. Okay, thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff, or not, it's up to you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.